Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to our witnesses for being here. Mr. Secretary Kerry, thank you as well on behalf of my constituents' family, Robert Levinson, for continuing to raise his plight and that of the 3 other Americans who are held. And I agree with you that it's time for them to come home. I want to talk specifically about PMD, because if we don't address PMD, the military dimensions of the program, then it's impossible for us to believe that the IAEA will have the credibility it needs going forward. Under the terms of the agreement, the nuclear-related activities that are set forth that need to be satisfied in order for there to be sanctions relief refer to the roadmap, the IAEA Iran roadmap, except they leave out the most important point, which is the one that the IAEA has to have final resolution of PMD. So I have 2 questions. The first question is, will we have access, will the IAEA have access to Parchin? The second question is, am I right, because I don't see any other way to read the agreement, that satisfaction of PMD will not be a prerequisite to Iran getting sanctions relief?
It is. It is a prerequisite. If they haven't complied with the IAEA and lived up to the dates that are laid out in the program, August and October, they will not get relief.
Right, but Mr. Secretary, I acknowledge that. But by October 15th, they have to have activities that they need to set out what they're going to do. But it's December 15th by which the Director General and the Board of Governors will assess whether or not they've complied, and that's not a condition under the deal.
Actually, it is. They'd be in material breach if they don't do this. We've told them that, and they understand that.
I understand, but it's
moreover,
I would just point out it's specifically omitted in the list of past and present concerns. It's not a requirement. But
well, the outcome, if you're talking about the outcome, it's not dependent on the outcome, because the outcome, we have no way of knowing which way, obviously.
Well, but that's the issue, Mr. Secretary.
No, it's whether they comply or not. We know what they were doing. We've already drawn our conclusion about 2003. We know they were engaged in trying to make a weapon.
So that's my point.
So this is not the outcome that determines.
This is important. So you're saying that even
compliance,
right? So if they comply with the IAEA and the IAEA ultimately concludes that they're not satisfied on PMD, either because they don't have access, because they didn't get access to the sites,
and they're not in compliance,
because they didn't get access to the scientists.
That would be a breach. We would not do sanctions relief. They know that.
Then I would respectfully suggest that it's not at all clear in the agreement. We could talk about that. I'd like to just move on to the issue of specifically the sanctions. This has been brought up by a number of my colleagues. The Annex 2 that lists lots and lots of individuals and entities that are getting sanctions relief under this deal. Many of them are involved in not just proliferation activities, but they're also involved in terrorism, support for terrorism. They're involved in human rights abuses. They went on this list because it was easier to get our European allies to go along with the proliferation sanctions. And I have a very specific question. Secretary Liu, I appreciate that we're going to continue to sanction Hezbollah. But what I really want to know is, will we be able to, and are we going through the process now of scouring this list, not just for individuals, but for banks and shipping lines and state-owned companies, to reimpose sanctions if they're subject to sanctions for terrorism?
Well, Congressman, first, we have not listed for relief many entities.
I understand, but
IRGC is not relieved.
But I'm asking about this list.
There are institutions that were designated for their acts of terrorism or regional destabilization that have not been relieved. Construction firms,
Mr. Secretary, I understand that. I have a very specific question. Will we be able, under this agreement, to reimpose sanctions on all of these individuals and entities if we find they should be because of their terrorism?
Congressman, we have retained all of our rights to designate firms and individuals under terrorism sanctions.
Including everyone listed in this annex.
Including entities who are on the list.
Great.
What we cannot do, and this is what Secretary Kerry was saying a few minutes ago, we cannot just put in place the nuclear sanctions label.
No, I understand.
We have given up no ability to target individuals or entities.
Including, I hope we're going through the list and scouring it right now. I only have a few seconds left. And I would just ask, I would just ask for some acknowledgement that when we say that Iran is engaged in all these terrible activities now and it doesn't cost much money, I would suggest that as it's been reported that $200 million a year is the amount that they use to fund Hezbollah. So if only $1 billion of the 56 were to go to Hezbollah, we would double the amount of support for 5 years, at which time the arms embargo comes off, and they're considerably more dangerous. We have to at least acknowledge that that's
Congressman, we can put the arms. There are plenty of opportunities to deal with the arms.
Bill Wilson,
There is a UN resolution preventing them from taking weapons to Hezbollah.